What's going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at volume 3 of the Modeler's Room style book here. We previously took a look at book 2. If you guys missed that, you can go back and check that out in the book reviews playlist. There's a whole bunch of different Mook reviews like this. I still don't have volume 1, so we'll maybe come back to that at some point in the future. But book 3 here is out, and it's going to have a lot more awesome hobby rooms that we can take a look at here for all sorts of inspiration for how we can set up and arrange our hobby rooms, or just we can just enjoy the view and see kind of all the cool stuff that we can find taking a look through some of these photos of some different modelers' hobby spaces. Let's go ahead and get into it here for today's Mook review. All right, so let's take a look around the outside here first. Under this kind of bit there, we got some more nice photography here on the front. On the inside of the dust jacket there, just a monochrome artwork of that. On the inside, there's Modeler's Room Book 1 and 2 there. And around on the back side of here, just some more nice artwork like that. And the MSRP here for this, 3,200 yen. So a little bit higher, I mean, compared to some of the other ones that we look at, but it's still kind of right about in that kind of normal range for a Mook like this. So pretty nice. Let's go ahead and crack it open. This is going to be in Japanese style, backwards for us Westerners. Starting off here, we've got a look at the contents here for this. It looks like these are the different modelers that are going to be featured in here. One familiar name that immediately sticks out to me just because they're in English is Wild River, and a name that probably a lot of you guys are also maybe familiar with or you've heard of before. Wild River. Very well known for his extremely detailed dioramas in particular. So we'll see some really cool stuff there. I'm sure that his room's going to be pretty interesting. So looks like we've got it broken into styles again. So if you remember from book 2, it had like a few different styles. This time it's amazing style, professional style, and homely style. I think that's what we had last time as well. Gucci, there's another one, another familiar modeler name on there. I'm sure we'll see some other ones. So here we've got for amazing style, we've got Net Arrow 23, Mitsuo Komiyama, Pico, and Tadayoshi Yamamura are going to be our modelers here for amazing style. Now, I will say right off the bat, pretty amazing what we got here. It's basically like a storefront that he's converted into his modeling space is what it looks like to me, kind of, because this looks like big storefront windows. Double door entrance. He's got his car parked inside here, as well as a motorcycle, a little modeling bench there in the background, some shelving, and this is also just kind of big windows over here on this side, but some shelving there for the backlog and everything. Very interesting. Hopefully there will be a picture of this space from the outside. Let's see. If not a store, no, yeah, it looks like it's a storefront, like in a cafe or something. What is this? I don't know. So you can see how those outdoors do open to the outside there. This can't be at his house, I don't think. Is it? No, I don't know. It looks like, yeah, or something. Really pretty crazy setup. I mean, this guy's got to be doing pretty well for himself. It looks like. So yeah, this is a Net Arrow 23. Not a modeler that I'm familiar with. Normally we can take a look kind of at the backlog. You can see kind of what they typically do from the backlog. If it's like Gunpla or like model cars or anything like that. I can see there's a car here, and I mean, he's got the car in there too, but it does look like there's some other Gunpla and sci-fi stuff there on the shelves as well. So I'm not sure, because this looks like it's like a separate room, like kind of off to the side, you can see here. So this looks like it was like some kind of I don't know, shop or cafe or something that he's converted into his hobby space. It looks pretty legit, I've got to say. Very, very cool. I'm certainly envious of a space like that. I mean, it's very cool. He's got a space to come and hang out and chat. I'm tempted to want to find out where this guy is and go have a visit. It looks like a pretty cool space. All right, this one as well. Here, look at this. He's got a trapdoor entrance into his model space. So let's see, whose is this? This is Komiyama's room, Mitsuo Komiyama. Yeah, look at that. So this is, where is this trapdoor? So I mean, again, I'm guessing this is his house, but maybe the theme here for the amazing style rooms is it's a room like inside like some other kind of business or something like that. That's kind of what it seems to be just after these first two, or where even is this? So these are photos of like inside the room, but and you can see here's the diorama, which I think we had for the first one as well. Yeah, so here's like the illustration, like kind of diorama of the room space, which is pretty cool. And that has like the specs and everything. And here we can see for this one, so it's just got like the drop down step ladder kind of going down into the room, and a very tight space it looks like. I mean, in the photographs, they're kind of close-up photographs, so it's kind of hard to get a real good sense of the space. But I mean, just looking at the illustration, I mean, you can tell he comes down this little ladder, stairs, and then he's got a chair to sit in, and that's really kind of about all the extent of how much he's going to be moving around. There's shelves on the one side with some displays of like some Star Trek ships and stuff like that. On the other wall, looks like there's some different like pictures and action figures and stuff mounted on the wall. On the one end of the room is kind of like the workspace. The other end of the room would be just kind of behind the ladder, where there's some other stuff on display there. But I mean, I love the entrance to this room, and just the fact that it's this like kind of trapdoor entrance to go into there, which again, it would be interesting to see if this is just like in his house or what, because that's pretty cool. I mean, the space is tiny, and I feel like if you were claustrophobic in any way, probably not a good space to work in. No windows or anything at all. Very different from the first one, which we saw, which had like the giant opening window kind of wall, essentially, that entirely opens up to the outside. This one's completely cut off. All right, pretty cool. All right, Pico is up next here, where it looks like you can see a whole bunch of Star Wars stuff, some Dragon Ball, some Machining Krieger over there. So kind of a sci-fi vibe here, it looks like, for what he's going to be working on. This one as well, a lot of wood, which is nice. Gotta have that nice wood finish around everywhere. And just looking at the diagram here for this one, it looks like this is basically like his apartment. It's like a 2-room apartment, 1 room, which has like a bed and like all his like living quarters and everything, it looks like. And then the other room is just a completely hobby room here, which is kind of interesting, just like the way that it's set up. Has these big beams right in the center of it. So this kind of makes me wonder if this is a room that's like added on to his like a house or a apartment building, some kind of thing. It's like an add-on room that's just kind of built onto there for this hobby space. I mean, it looks, again, pretty cramped. I mean, it even has like the beam here on the bottom that you'd have to like step over in order to like sit in this chair, and then you only have like this one little space here. Again, pretty wild, but really making the most of this tiny little space. There's one little window right up there, it looks like, and that's probably about it. It looks like for the window, and it looks like, let's see, is that matchup? Oh no, so there's kind of 2 little windows. One window is just converted into the air duct for the spray booth. The other window is, looks like probably maybe to be able to be opened there. Pretty interesting. Yeah, pretty tight workspace in here with this G World 2 Mook. I'm not sure I've ever seen that Mook before, but I'm gonna look into that because it looks pretty cool. Kind of got an interesting diorama on there on the front. It looks like something that would be by Wild River or something on there, or Masaki for that diorama. Okay, next, I think this is the last of the amazing style. Yep, because after this we go to professional style. Last of the amazing style here is Tadayoshi Yamamura, and this one is, yeah, this one looks like kind of a bit more kind of standard modeling room, just where it's just kind of like a room in the house, and like not anything like too particularly like interesting about the room, but it's just kind of like your standard room here. But it's got the desk and another kind of shelf over here where he's got the air spray booth. It looks like, I think so, right? Or yeah, that's a 3D printer he's got over there. It looks like, I think, yeah, or that's a spray booth, or that's a photo booth. Anyway, I think that's the spray booth. Oh, so he's got the spray booth mounted, like, rather than mounted kind of, how would I say, horizontally, vertically, so that it's sucking the air down, which is interesting for the setup for that. Okay, I see what's going on there. Got a few more photos over here on this side. He's also got the drying booth, and here we've got the diagram. What's the diagram? Yeah, just illustration of the hobby room there. Interesting. Okay, moving on to professional style. So it'll be interesting to see what's kind of very different about professional style, because at least this one, I mean, that's pretty professional looking to me, but it's also pretty amazing, so it makes sense to be in the amazing style. Let's see here for professional style. This one is KZG. KZG is, who is that? The guy looks familiar, but I'm not sure if I know who it is. But I mean, it certainly looks very professional, just in the fact that it looks very clean, and like this whole side of the room over here looks more like just an office, just like a kind of standard office, not necessarily for like modeling. But then we do have some like modeling space over here. I guess this is maybe his spray booth kind of set up over here on the side. You can see some Star Wars models up here at the top. He's got the Zaku 2 a perfect grade up there, it looks like. Some plants, always a good thing to have in there. Light, of course. Storage boxes, gotta have that. And just some other kind of detail shots of some of the other supplies from around the room. It's kind of I think that's just a booth here for doing like sanding, grinding, when it's creating just like a lot of dust, not from paint, but just from grinding, you know, plastic or resin or whatever it might be. So just like a little suction booth there for that. And yeah, otherwise looks like a pretty nice little room there. It looks like just in the illustration of the room that there's like a lot of vertical like storage space, which you can't really see that much in any of these photos, but you can kind of see it a little bit up here, which is kind of nice to have something to keep in mind when you're planning your room, to make use of the vertical space as well. If you have all this like empty space up on the wall, if you're able to put up shelves, you know, in your living situation, put some shelves and you can keep your backlog kind of up high. So it's kind of out of the way of the space where you're working kind of thing. All right, up next here, this is Isahara. Not a familiar name for me, but looks like a lot of supplies and not a lot of model kits that I can see clearly or identify. We got all sorts of paints and supplies, more paints and supplies over here, more tools and supplies up over there, and all sorts of tools and stuff over here. So a lot of modeling tools and supplies. Let's see if we can see any model kits anywhere, at least anything like in terms of model kit boxes. It looks like not. So maybe he's got like a whole separate area or a different room is where he's actually storing model kits, or maybe he's that type of modeler that works on one model at a time and doesn't buy another one until he finishes the one, so he never has like a stack anywhere. I kind of doubt it. I kind of doubt that those kind of modelers actually exist anywhere in the world, but who knows, maybe he's one of them. Obviously there's all sorts of text here that we could read about it, but it's in Japanese, so would have to translate that to get any more clearer details. But let's move on here to Wild River-san, Naoto Arakawa. So gotta say, pretty innocuous kind of modeling room here. Not necessarily one that if I just saw the pictures, I would guess is Wild Rivers, but it is pretty cool. You can see here's the Shin Godzilla over here with the very long tail kind of going up the side. He does have like some of these like little monster figurines and stuff over here in the plants, which does kind of, you know, a little bit kind of make me think of Wild River, just because again of how he sets up his dioramas, like I said, just being kind of very detailed, things like that. But let's see if there's more on the kind of modeling space of it. I don't know. It's not necessarily. So just got like his desk here. And I have to imagine that because I know some of the dioramas that he builds are quite large, and this like working space is not very big. So I have to imagine he has some more space somewhere that he kind of works on stuff. And it is kind of interesting to look at it here. When you look at this space, and it looks, you know, it's like cluttered, but relatively clean. And I think this photo is like the opposite way, looking the other way in the room, where it's just a lot more stuff, just kind of a larger, kind of messy area. And it looks like maybe over there in the corners, maybe his spray booth. There's like boxes stacked up everywhere and books stacked up over here, more plants and everything. So a little much messier over there in that kind of side of the room, or that's a different room, because looking at the illustration of the room, it doesn't look like this, what we're seeing here, is represented here necessarily, or it's just kind of not drawn because that's against this forward wall here maybe. Anyway, there certainly is a lot of mess, and I believe it's got to be more working space back over there away from the computer. But there's Wild River-san. Next, Makoto Hirai. This one is going to be, looks like armor and vehicle models, kind of stuff like that. Got a whole bunch of books over here, which I can see the Machine Krieger modeling books there, easily identified. Obviously emphasis on this photo booth set up here for doing some nice professional photography, the spray booths over there, and a lot of these like organizer shelves, which you can see here for all the paints and tools, supplies and stuff, and more books over there. Always nice to have plenty of books. I like books, as you might be able to tell by the fact that I do these Mook reviews here with you guys. So a whole bunch of paints. And yeah, looks like a pretty nice space. It's kind of, again, like a little bit more of kind of your standard kind of average modeler space, I would think. That, you know, you just got a whole bunch of organizers, just try to keep everything organized, and you have a fair amount of working space. And just a kind of very elaborate kind of setting it looks like there for the actual photography. But of course, if you're trying to get some professional photos, that's nice. We've got Gato Works here. Obviously with a nickname like that, I'm guessing that this is going to be Mecha and Gunpla modeling here by Gato Works. And it looks like he's got the 3 computer screen there, 3D printer over here, the spray booth, again, bookshelf full of books up there. And I'm trying to figure out if these two computer screens are these same two computer screens, but I don't think he's taken the photo. So this is like 3 computer screens over here at this desk. At another desk on the other side of the room, he's got the 2 computer screens. So 5 in total in the room. So it's quite a lot here. I like these photos here. They're kind of like zoomed out. It's from opposite angles of the room. Or it's not zoomed out necessarily, but it's taken with a fisheye lens, so you can kind of get like a full sense of the room, because it looks like, once again, a pretty small room. So it's kind of, in like the normal photos, kind of hard to get a real good like sense of the space. Oh no, it's different. Actually, this is interesting. Okay, yeah, so here from the illustration of the room, I can see how that's different. Actually, it's not from opposite ends of the room. It's kind of different sides of the room. So here's like the left side and the right side. So they're actually, it looks like it's a modeling space shared by 2 different modelers here. This side for Chiita wa Karashi, and this side is for Gatanero. So I guess together they just kind of go by Gato Works. But so there you go. That kind of explains it. So you can see, hopefully you guys can see in the illustration of the room here, that's kind of separated by this stack of stuff in the middle of the room. And there's like this setup on this side, this setup on that side. So that's kind of interesting if you've got a good friend. So this is Gatonero here. And yeah, again, just without doing any translation, that's what it seems like to me. Maybe it is just the one guy's room, and he just kind of does like, I don't know, some work over here and other work over there, and that's just kind of how he has it separated out. Gato Works maybe is just like the name that he goes by for like some other different kind of products, and Chiita wa Karashi is something else, I don't know. So, oh no, okay, so if I would have just turned the page, I would have found out here's Wakarashi-san's Wakarashi-san and his side of the room. So they've kind of separated it out here. These pages here for one side, these pages for the other side. Okay, I got it. Sorry. Now we figured it out. And yeah, it looks very nice. Got all the books and all the supplies, everything. Nice looking modeling space over here. And it looks like he's got on his cell phone right here in the photo is the Gundam Breaker mobile app, which is going bye-bye soon, unfortunately. So that's too bad. Okay, next up in professional style, Hata-san. So got a big shelf over here full of CDs, it looks like. That's something we haven't really seen a whole lot of, but maybe he's a music fan. Assuming that that's what those are, music CDs. It could be something else. I mean, it could be, I don't know, anything else, computer games or something, but we do have some computers. This is once again a room that looks like kind of just as much, if not more, like an office than it does like a modeling space. But you can see he's got the computers, but then like kind of, it's like 2 desks put together. One's like the computer desk, the other one's the desk like for modeling, it looks like maybe. And spray booth outside, interestingly, so doesn't do his painting inside it. He's got to wait for good weather and go outside with the spray booth. That's kind of interesting. But if you've got like kind of immediate access, it's maybe like right outside these doors here. There's like a door to probably like a small garden area, just because it's kind of like in between the apartments or in between like the back of the house or something like that. So if he's got that door right there, you can maybe just step outside, bring the spray booth out there and plug it in and just kind of do his spraying outside. It's kind of interesting. Very nice. All right, speaking of interesting, this one's kind of a little bit questionable looking. This is Noriyuki Kubo, and it looks like a pretty like dark and dingy space to do your modeling. I don't know. Looks like it's not very well lit and a lot of dust, but I don't know. All right, so this looks like it's kind of like a supply room in his house or something like that he's converted into like a hobby space. It's very old school looking, like really, really old school. So this looks like, yeah, so yeah, it seems like this is exactly what it is. So if you look here in the diorama, in the illustration of the room, it looks like that's the entrance to his house, and this is just kind of like a side room, which is just like a supply room kind of off to the side of the entrance of his house. It would look like to me, just based on what I can see from this. And so, yeah, that's kind of interesting. It's not going to be a very big space where it's like just big enough to have your desk for working and spraying, and then like a kind of narrow walkway here for having your backlog, books and supplies and stuff kind of all stored there. And it looks like he's got a display base for finished models, but I think that's not in the actual room. That's kind of more in the actual like entryway, kind of genkan to the house is what it looks like there. But that's pretty interesting, or house or apartment. Right, next up, Tarunabu Kunya, and this one is, again, this one looks very, very similar to one of the rooms that we saw in book 2. If I remember correctly, there was a room like this where he had like the blackout curtains and it looked like there was just like no light ever going to be coming into the room, even though it did have windows. But he's got these blackout curtains over here, and I'm just going to assume that it doesn't ever get a whole lot of natural light in there. So he's just got backlog like stacked up over here. This side where it looks like where there is a window, that's where the curtain is. You got the spray booth. Once again, a nice big photo booth there as well for photographing the models. But yeah, and a whole bunch of books over here. Another bookshelf just with all the different books and everything. Looks like primarily an armor modeler. There I can see a couple other different things, a couple other Gunpla and things like that kind of in the mix, but mostly armor modeling here. It looks like it's got the rack wall of supplies there and just a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, if you look at the illustration of the room, it's pretty packed. So a small room with a lot of stuff in it and basically no windows. So yeah, not my ideal working space, but not too dissimilar from what I have from where I am at the moment. All right, Bowie Knife here is next. And it looks like, once again, we've got a few different Star Wars things I can see here around the room. There's some gunplay in there, some like gun model kits. I think there's either gun model kits or gun replicas or something. They're obviously not real guns there on that little display. It's got the backlog rack there. And just looking at this room illustration, yeah, it looks again like a pretty kind of standard one. But keeping all the paint in this kind of just a standing plastic shelving unit. I've seen a lot of people use these. I've not tried using one of these for paints just because I feel like the paints can be quite heavy. And normally those just plastic shelves like that are just kind of weak. Normally if you found like a good one that was like nice, good quality and able to handle like some pretty heavy weights in there, then it would work pretty well. But I feel like the weight of the paint would make those kind of a little bit janky, but I don't know, maybe not. All right, homely style is going to be our third and final style here for this book, where let's see what we've got in here. First off is Satamami, where it looks like, okay, I can see right off the bat where the homely style kind of titling is coming from, because it looks like this is his room and modeling room. Bedroom, I should say. Bedroom and modeling room. So you got the bed, backpacks and stuff hanging up over here, and then the modeling space just right next door. So the only thing about that is that, you know, if you guys do a lot of modeling, you know that it can be kind of dusty between like the spray booth and just like sanding and everything like that. I mean, you can try to control that by using like different kind of suction systems or like wet sanding, things like that. But I mean, it can be kind of dirty. I'm not sure I would want to have my bed right next to where I'm modeling, but sometimes, especially in Japan, with the way that apartments are, and I'm sure you guys are well aware of like how apartments can be in Japan, and yeah, it makes sense that sometimes you got to work with what you got. And here he's got it set up so that he can set up his spray booth to be venting out the window there. Very important, of course. And once again, we can see about the Nero booth. So I gotta wonder if, let's just fast forward here to the end. In the other issue, we saw that there's kind of a special feature at the end about Nero booth, and it looks like there's not in this case. But we definitely saw one in the other issue where we kept seeing Nero booths in a lot of these rooms, and this guy's got one too. So it seems to be like the spray booth of choice for a lot of these modelers. Either that or they had something to do with like putting this Mook together. It's like kind of sponsored by Nero booth or something like that. But I don't know. Doesn't look like it necessarily, as far as I can tell from the credits here, which are mostly in Japanese, but don't know if I could see anything about that. Anyway, okay. Tobibuta up here next, where it looks like this is going to be one of those more minimal ones, where it's like this is the hobby space and that's it. So we got a computer and a little Gundam Converge new Gundam right there. Very cool. All the supplies all just kind of packed in here in and around the space. You got the spray booth here right next door. A couple of little model kits there on display, and just kind of everything is right there. And that's about it. So what it looks like, because yeah, it looks like over here that's not necessarily a very big room, and he's just kind of got everything all in this one spot, and the whole rest of the room is all like kind of clean. He's got the display cabinets with the stuff there in the display, and otherwise this is just the double doors. So this display would be kind of on the opposite side of the desk. You can kind of see it would be here in the foreground of the illustration there, but yeah, he's just kind of kept it all like here and focused in this one little area, and the rest of the room is kept pretty nice and neat and clean and tidy. So That's pretty cool. I like that. Taking a break for a kind of special feature here. I'm not necessarily sure what this is that we're looking at here for this one. I think it's just kind of like some steps from Waka Ohashi. Steps about like kind of how to tidy and organize your stuff, I guess. What they should have had is that, that was that lady from that Netflix special. Was it Marie Kondo, right? The Maricon method of cleaning. They should have had like a special feature with her about like how to clean and organize your modeling stuff, but that looks like kind of without doing some more translation on this and just kind of trying to just do a very quick deciphering of what this section is all about. It looks like it's just kind of about organizing stuff in your hobby room, so that's kind of cool. Of course, that's what like the whole, I don't know, I was gonna say what the whole book is about, but not necessarily, as we've seen, as some of them are very kind of seemingly disorganized. I mean, it's kind of a balancing act. I mean, you have to try to, organize things in a way that kind of works and makes sense and doesn't make it so that like when you're going and working your hobby space that you're not feeling like stressed out because it's so messy. I mean, some people work best in a mess, but other people, kind of need some sort of more organization. So hopefully you guys can like take some ideas and hints, things that you see in books like this and see from other modelers working space to get some good ideas. But I mean, you have to do like what works in your space and what makes you feel comfortable when you're working in your own space, of course, right? All right, we got a couple more here. It looks like at the end of the book, Koichi Inai and Chario. So this one looks like it's maybe another space that is shared, at least anyway. Modelers are named here together at the end, but not photographed. So anyway, again, it seems just like a shared modeling space. I don't know, roommates or a couple or something. I'm not entirely sure, but as you can see here from this photo, it's kind of an interesting photo because it's shot from like an interesting angle. We have this big stack of kits here in the foreground, but you can see there's kind of a lot other stuff going on there. So I'm not sure if it's taken like that just because it's a very tight space and there was no other choice but to photograph it like that, or if it was just a kind of purposeful decision. But looking at some of these other photos, it does look like it's probably a pretty tight space in here, because you can see there's the one photo over here of like kind of the backlog, like maybe like a side room or something, another room where they've got just these kits all stacked up in like a narrow space to walk in between. But the actual modeling room itself, I mean, looks pretty small, but kind of nice, just like comfortable in just the way that it's organized, kind of having the desk, like an L-shaped desk that comes out to the middle of the room. You can kind of work kind of on both sides of there, doing different things, photography maybe like on the one side, and the painting and modeling stuff kind of over on the other side. So pretty interesting there. Next up, Yota Tokunaga. I gotta say, I do appreciate this Snoopy garbage can down below. He's got some airplane models, some Gundam models over there, some other stuff, so kind of a little bit of everything. His spray booth, it looks like, is just a cardboard box, so gotta love that. Very utilitarian there, and it looks like there's not even like maybe there's a fan actually on the back of that. Looks like maybe he just kind of opens up his window and has the fan just kind of blowing it straight out the window there, so very interesting. I think this is the first time that I've seen anyone using an actual microscope in their room as well, and it looks like from his diorama illustration scene down there, it's once again kind of where he's got the bed on the one side of the room and the modeling space kind of on the opposite side. Nice big kind of wide open desk space there, so that's nice big open working space. Up next here, Masaya Yamashido. This one looks like a pretty interesting room. Hey, there you go. Nice little cameo here from a friend of the channel there, Mike Rinaldi, his tank book there. I think it's the first time I've seen one of Mike Rinaldi's books here kind of in the wild in one of these books here like this. So that's pretty cool. That's nice to see. An English language book in, well, I'm not sure if that book is printed in Japanese. I don't believe so. But anyway, at least from an English language speaker anyway, a Westerner modeler here in the wild in Japan. It's pretty cool there. So obviously a fan of armor modeling, I guess. And so here's his, once again, like computer and workspace here. And there's the book once again. So I wonder if it says anything in the text kind of about that, but that's pretty cool. Pretty cool to see in there. Next up, let's see, we've got Gucci. Oh yes, Gucci. So it's a familiar name, although I'm not sure. There he's got a model graphics book there kind of on display. So I think that's probably where I've seen him. I'm sure I've, of course, seen him around on Twitter, but as far as like in other publications, I'm just trying to think back into what other specific publications I remember seeing his work, but I can't remember anything in particular offhand. But once again, it's got the nice big Nero booth there, and a nice painting setup here for doing all this like paint prep and everything, it looks like. So pretty nice modeling space here, although once again, just looking at this, it's not a very big room, but it's kind of nice how it's just kind of like U-shaped to kind of take advantage of like all sections of the room, having one side for photography, one side for modeling, one side for painting, another side for where he's got his computer for doing computer work. So that's all pretty cool. And I think this is maybe our last one, maybe ABSN. I'm not sure how necessarily to pronounce that, but over here you can see a nice big display cabinet. And over on this side, once again, the Nero booth and working space here with the nice little organizer boxes for all the paint. Well, I'm not sure if there's any paints in there. It looks like probably supplies and paints or maybe somewhere else. But if we look over here, see, so he's got those nice like tool. These are like boxes that are normally for like tools, nails and screws and stuff like that. We would keep in those, I guess, kind of normally. But he's got all sorts of cool stuff in there. A nice photo space here as well. So a lot of modelers here in this series, in this book, and in book 2 as well, we saw, you know, obviously they've got a lot of times a dedicated space just for photography as well. So it's kind of nice to have the space available to dedicate as just like a photography space, just because then you don't have to worry about setting it up and tearing it down every time when you want to photograph a model. You know, you're working on it and you finish, or even like a work in progress, just pop it over here in the photography space, take some photos, and then very good to go. So that's nice to have that certainly right there in the space. And also a box of what looks to be like candy or something down there as well. Also a good thing to have, I guess, if you're a candy fan. So this is Kigu-san here for this one. I'm not sure if I mentioned that before, but Kigu-san's working space here. Yeah, it does look very kind of nice and organized. I would expect maybe to see this kind of just as much more in the professional section, which was before, but homely style, professional style, I guess is what I should say. It does look quite professional. He's even got the big lights there for his photography space and everything. A very nicely organized space here, as far as I can tell, as far as I can see there, and like a dedicated computer space. So all very cool. And I think this is the last one, Yu-san's, which I think, going back to the front, is this one that we saw some of on the front. Yeah, the top there is Yu-san's space, and the bottom there was that kind of hideaway space. But this one looks really, really nice. A lot of stuff going on. It's kind of very cluttered, but in a very charming way, right? So I can see why they put this on one of the shots there on the cover of it, because it's got a lot of wood. It's got like the plants kind of tucked in between the different things. It's got some nice kind of mood lighting going on in there. So it is a very charming, kind of reminds you of like a very well lived in kind of cafe sort of space, right? Japanese cafe, certainly kind of space here with just kind of a lot of stuff tucked in between everywhere. But it looks quite cool. So he's even got like the display cases over here for displaying stuff, some books down there, modeling backlog up there, a lot of Kotobukiya stuff. It looks like there's some frame arms, girl, Megami device kind of stuff. There's a couple of Digimon model kits from Bandai in there as well. And just kind of all, again, utilizing the vertical space here with the tools and supplies and stuff kind of built up against the wall there. So that all looks very cool. And the speakers up at the top, of course, for some nice sound, and a very comfortable looking chair there as well. So it's kind of all about comfort in this space. Very homely for sure. Yes, certainly. Very cool. And it looks like it's kind of got like 3 computer setups. So this one here in the center with this steering wheel, I guess for doing like a car, like sim racing kind of type gaming. This one over here looks like for just kind of general like PC gaming. And this one I guess is just kind of for like a PC to use like while working. So probably just like for watching stuff while working, but you can use it for like, I don't know, whatever, internet, whatever else, while you're working on stuff. So yeah, there you go. Very cool kind of space here. It looks like there's maybe his bed in here as well in this space, kind of maybe opposite this photo up here, it looks like. But it's kind of hard to see. Looks like that is the case though. So it's like, once again, kind of modeling room / bedroom in the apartment there. So again, really nice looking space there. Very charming, yeah, definitely. So we got some credits here at the end. At the backside, okay, yeah, I was right. There's that G World 2 book that we saw in there earlier is a Wild River book. So yeah, I was gonna say, looking at that diorama just on the cover of that book, it definitely struck me as a Wild River work, and yeah, most certainly is. So I'm gonna look for that because that looks really cool. I also got a couple of Star Wars books here, which I think this one is also gonna be Wild River's book, because I know he does a lot of really fantastic Star Wars dioramas. So there's the Star Wars World Wild River book, the G World Mook there, and these are a couple of other Star Wars modeling archives books. I don't have any Star Wars, like specifically the modeling books, though that might be kind of cool to take a look at. I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I've only built a couple of the models, but I mean, they are really nice models, the ones from Bandai anyway. So that's it for this book. Did you guys see anything particularly interesting in there? There's a lot of cool stuff. Again, I just find it really interesting to just kind of see how other modelers, kind of work their spaces, and it should help you to give you some kind of good ideas about how maybe better organize certain aspects of your hobby room. Maybe let me know what you think down in the comments, guys. Did you see anything particularly interesting, or anything that gave you some good ideas? Let me know. If you also want to make sure to like the video if you enjoyed taking a look at this one here today. Subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. If you guys want to check out some different models and paints and tools and all that good stuff like that for yourself, you can also check in the video description to USA Gundam Store. There's a link there for the store where you guys can check out all sorts of cool stuff there. And yeah, just thank you guys all so much for all your support. Until next time, stay tuned for more, and I'll see you guys later. Bye bye.